Thank you so much for asking me to come and talk to you today about professionalism. Um, it's such an important piece in everything that we do because it is about how we represent ourselves and how people see us. And oftentimes people don't take professionalism as seriously when they're doing a, we'll say, shorter or smaller experience that might be just 10 hours a week, but that professionalism is just as important as when you're working 40 hours a week or more. So I've already met Wendy and Courtney, and Carmen, I would love it if you would turn your camera on, at least briefly, and your microphone, so you can introduce yourself to me so I know who you are and so who we're talking to today.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm a sophomore here in Infield, and currently working with a third grade classroom in Columbus Elementary.
Okay, and why are you working with America Reads?
I just wanted to have an early experience in a classroom, and hopefully that will help me decide what grades I want to teach.
Yeah, I'm Courtney. I'm from Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and I chose America Reads because it seemed like a good place to start at Linfield, because it was one of the first things that I joined when I got here.
Okay. When we're talking about professionalism, the actual definition of it is the way a person conducts themselves in the workplace. But you cannot go in and identify yourself as acting professional. It's something that others perceive of you. So when I look at professionalism, I think that there are so many components of it, but the 5 most important are appearance, actions, communication, your impressions, and your commitment. So we're going to focus on those and talk about the different components of those that really apply to you as an America Reads tutor. So when we talk about appearance, this all seems very, common sense here, but you need to be neat and clean. So take care of that. And that means that you don't want to show up in your classroom, 10 minutes after you've rolled out of bed and you throw your hair in a messy bun and you're like, well, I'm here. And you want to make sure that you are, again, presented as you want people to see you in that professional setting. So you aspire to be a teacher, dress like you are a teacher. You've probably heard the phrase, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And so if these teachers and the other school staff can see you put together, looking like a teacher, they're going to see you as a teacher. And that will help you in your work with America Reads, but it will also help you as you're applying for a job moving forward. So be modest and really follow the school dress code. And those change, and if there's a rule that you can't wear spaghetti straps and you have to have your straps this thick, follow that. I mean, that is just common sense. And watch the length of skirts and midriff showing. I know that those are part of fashion right now, but you need to really be mindful and follow that dress code. And I put good attitude on appearance because your attitude shows in how you approach things, how you react to things, and you just need to be mindful of that. So if somebody says, will you please take out the trash. Oh, of course, I'm happy to do that. Go do it. Or, yeah, I guess. Two completely different reactions. That's part of your appearance. So there are also actions that reflect your professionalism. First and foremost, follow the school's mask policy. And when you're wearing a mask, you have to model the correct action there. So always have your mask up over your nose, adjust it as you need. But if students see their teacher or their tutor wearing their mask only on their mouth, they're going to think that's okay because you are their role model. Be polite, have good body language, just with everything that you do, because people are seeing that, people are watching that, especially if you're working with younger kids. They are so in tune with what you're doing, how you do it, that will come through later in their behavior, and you don't want them to credit you for a bad habit or a poor behavior choice. And with your cell phone, I recommend that you turn it completely off and stow it in a bag while you're in a classroom. Don't even have it in your pocket. Don't have it on vibrate, because people can hear vibrate. And in elementary schools, students are not ever allowed to have phones. And so you need to, again, follow that rule and model that behavior. So, back to this body language thing, I think this is a big piece of it. 70% of your communication is nonverbal. So, if I was sitting here going, so yeah, we've got this communication and you got to do this, you don't think I want to be here. But if I am having eye contact with you and I'm talking with you, then you know that I want to be here and that this is something that I think is important, and you should listen to it. First impressions. You've all heard the expression, you only get one chance to make a first impression. And that's absolutely true. So smile, have eye contact, and emit confidence. And if you want some help with that, if you're feeling nervous about, the first time you're going into the classroom or the first time you're doing a certain task, take a minute to really center yourself. And maybe, something that I do sometimes before presentations, if I'm nervous, I walk into a bathroom and I look at myself in the mirror. I, tell myself some, just affirmations. You've got this, you're going to do great with this. And then I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this, but the Superwoman pose, where you put your hands on your hips and you spread your feet a little bit wide and you put your chin in the air and take a deep breath. And it really helps empower and instill that confidence. So that's one little trick that I learned that really can be helpful. All right, and now, I don't know, there's my mouse. I have a little video that we're gonna watch on first impressions. So when you are connecting during the pandemic, you need to be mindful of distance and touch. So if you're meeting somebody for the first time, most people's immediate reaction is to stick their hand out so they can shake hands with you. But that's not necessarily the smart thing to do right now. So it's okay to either wave to somebody, or two things that I do is either clasp my hands in front of my body or put my hands behind my back when I'm reaching or when I'm walking up to somebody to meet them for the first time. Again, always wear your masks and do that. And if you happen to be connecting with somebody on a Zoom call, be mindful of that environment around you, so that people are looking at you as a professional. It doesn't matter what your desk looks like as long as nobody else can see it, right? You know, the other thing to think about is what's behind you. So I'm choosing to use a virtual background from Zoom. It happens to be a picture from the Linfield campus. You know, I noticed Wendy has, you know, you have your whiteboard and stuff behind you, you know, so I think that looks good. You know, if you're really into this, there's a great person on Twitter that's called Rate My Room, and it is just, it's really entertaining to look at. So anyway, but just be mindful of it and make sure that what is behind you is what you really want people to be seeing. All right, so talking about communication, we touched on introducing yourself. Make sure that you introduce yourself completely. You know, you want to make sure they have your first and last names, where you're from. Like, I'm a student at Linfield University, and I'm here as part of the America Reads program. So make sure that they understand that and have the context of why you are there. And if your name is one that is hard to understand, make sure you say it slow enough that they can get it. And if somebody mispronounces your name, correct them, because we all want to say your name correctly. And it's embarrassing if I met you, I say your name wrong, and then 2 weeks later, Wendy comes to me and says, Christy, actually, her name is pronounced this way, you know, and then I have to go up, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Blah, blah. So if somebody mispronounces your name, pause for a minute and say, let me tell you, this is how I prefer my name is pronounced. And they will appreciate that. So when you are communicating, make sure that you understand what the best communication channel is. If the teacher you're working with is young, they will probably want a text communication. If they're a little bit older, they may want an email communication. And some older teachers may prefer a phone call. And you know, our devices actually do make phone calls. So make sure that you are communicating with your supervising teacher in the manner that they prefer. And if you are not able to make it to your shift, make sure that you communicate that early. If you're supposed to show up at 10 o'clock, I don't want you to call in at 9:55 and say, oh yeah, by the way, I'm not coming. You need to give them time to adjust. Maybe they had a lesson or something where it was really important that they had another adult in the classroom, and knowing that at the very last minute is not very helpful. So ideally, communicate with the teacher before the school day starts so that they can make that adjustment early. If you are emailing them, and even too, if you're texting them, make sure you proofread what you send, because you want your message to come through as you intended it. And also, you know, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. If you're talking with your teacher and interacting on a first name basis, that's completely fine. But until you have permission to do that, you want to address them as their students do. So, dear Mr. Sanders, I wanted to let you know that I am not feeling well today, and I'm sorry to share that I am not going to be able to make it. The other piece that I feel is really important is gender pronouns. I don't need you to know what pronouns every single kid wants to use, but the phrases that I don't want to see you using in the classroom are, okay, guys, come on, we're going to do this. Choose words such as friends or second graders. All right, second graders, here we go. We're going to blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, friends, who's with me? That type of thing. So try not to use guys or hey or whatever. So that is part of you being a professional. Commitment. You're committing to this program. You're going to have a set schedule, and it is expected that you are going to follow that. I want you to also take initiative. If you find that, 10 a.m. to noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays doesn't work for you because you have a class right away, or it doesn't give you enough time to eat, or whatever, make sure that you talk with them and don't just say, gosh, I can't come on Tuesdays anymore. Have a conversation. Say, I would really like to adjust my schedule. Can I, make it this and this instead of this and this, because it would help me with this. So communicate that rather than complaining, leaving early, not showing up, all of those things. And ask for more. If you're working with a student on, on reading, and you see something that might help them, or you're learning something in one of your classes that might help them, talk to the teacher and say, we're learning about this new method of presenting phonics. Is it okay if I, use some of that with Johnny when I'm reading? My guess is they'll probably say yes, but there may be a reason why they don't want you to do that. So before you go off and, do something different, make sure that it's okay with the teacher. The other thing that you can do to show your commitment is to, I wrote down, be punctual, but actually be early. When you go into a school, you will have to go into the office. You will have to check in on the computer, and before you can even go down to the classroom. And you might be able to do that really quickly, but the office may have one computer, and they may have a grandma who's coming in to volunteer in the classroom who's struggling with whatever and is taking some time. So as long as you are nice and early, you can either be patient or you can help this person, and then you can take your turn and check in. Because you don't want to be 10 minutes late to the classroom and because there was somebody else using that computer. So please make sure that you are early and know what's happening in the classroom right before you come in, to know if you need to wait outside and go in right at 10 o'clock or the time you're supposed to be there, or if it is okay for you to come to slip in and listen in on the lesson that is happening. And that's part of the conversation that you can have with the teacher that you are paired with. So I mentioned this early, professional is not a label that you give yourself. It's a description that you want others to apply to you. So everything that you do in your job, in your classroom, in your volunteering is all part of creating you as a professional. So knowing that, think to the future. And with you going into schools right now, you have great access. So I encourage you to talk to, I wrote people, but make sure you introduce yourself to the principal. Meet and become friends with the secretaries in the front office. They are very important people in the schools. Meet with or talk to, the reading teachers, the classroom aides, the parent volunteers. Talk to people, let them get to know you so that you can connect with them. And it may be that you're in a fifth grade, or let's say a fourth grade classroom, but you think that first grade might be really where you want to be. So talk to the principal, and maybe you can find a time to add on an hour here or there to be able to be in a different level classroom. They're only going to be willing to do that if they know you. And like I said, ask for more. If there's little ways that you can help your teacher, offer to do it, because it really makes a difference to them. And all the while that you're doing this, I want you to really think about what you're doing and how passionate you are about it. No one can go into education lightly, and you need to know if it's the right place for you. And America Reads is a great place to start getting your toes wet in that industry. And think to yourself, well, okay, I like this, but then also think, what else? Who else do you need to meet? What do you need to do? What do you need to see to really be confident in that choice in that decision to continue on the path of education and know if it is right for you. So I encourage you to add your America Reads tutoring to your resume, add it to your LinkedIn profile. America Reads is a nationwide program. It's one that people know and respect. So you made a good choice to apply for and join the program. And you just might be able to connect with other people who are in the program as well. All right, and this is my final slide, the final thought of the presentation. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. So always keep that in mind. If you think about that, you'll always do things just a little differently, thinking about how you want to be known, how you want to be remembered.